This is Math 1316, Trigonometry. I'm David Dipple from Lone Star College, Montgomery, and this is my email address if you want to reach me. In Chapter 3, Section 1, we start dealing with reference angles, and that is the smallest angle between the terminal side of an angle and the x-axis. For example, if you have 127, starting at 0, going out 127 degrees, we're looking for the shortest distance from this terminal side down to the x-axis, or the horizontal. So we take 180 and subtract 127. 180 is the whole thing, subtract the 127, so what's missing is 53. If we look at 44 degrees, it's its own reference angle because that is the shortest distance from 0, the horizontal, up to the angle, so it's 44. If you look at negative 220, going around clockwise, going down and back up, this whole thing, if you want to get to the horizontal, you're taking 180 from 220, and that will leave how much positive is left, which is 40 degrees. And then 251, if you start at 0, go around counterclockwise to 251, which is in the third quadrant. If you need to back off 180, so it's 251 minus 180. So this, going back to the horizontal, is 71. Now, to find the uses for the reference angle is, suppose you want to find the exact value of sine of 240. Rather than memorizing the sine of 240, you find the reference angle. Now, 240 degrees is in the third quadrant, and so sine is negative. Both sine and cosine are negative. And so the reference angle we look at is 60 degrees because that's the reference. 240 minus 60 is 180. So it's going to be negative sine of 60. We've memorized the sine of 60, so it's negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, suppose you have tangent of 330. Tangent is in the 330 rather is in the fourth quadrant. Tangent is in the fourth quadrant is negative. So we have negative tangent, and then we just deal with a reference angle for 330. And 360 minus 330 is 30. So you have negative, you have the tangent of 30, and the tangent of 30 is sine over cosine, which is, so it's negative 1 over square root of 3. So you can use your reference angles and which quadrant you're in. Again, if it was sine in the third quadrant, it's negative, so it's negative sine. Find the reference angle for 240 was 60. Reference angle for 330 is 30. Just subtract 180 or subtract 360. And those are the ones we've memorized, so then it's just a plus and a minus in front of what we memorized. Okay, now using a calculator, find where tangent is negative 0.8541 in the second quadrant. If you push inverse tangent of a negative number, it should give you, I believe, a negative 40.5. So I mistyped that. It should be negative 40.5. So then, so the tan inverse of negative 0.8541, that's why. Again, those are both negative. When you do that, negative 40.5 degrees, that is in the third quadrant. And we want to be in the, fourth quadrant. We want to be in the second quadrant. So we take our 180 and subtract 40.5. So to get back in the second quadrant, and subtract the 40.5, which should have been negative again, and you get 139.5, which is in the second quadrant. So let me put those negatives back in there for you. This was negative. When you used the calculator, it was negative. So you take 180, subtract the 40.5, which came from the calculator, to get back in the second quadrant. Now, we want to find out where secant is 3.8637 in the fourth quadrant. Secant comes from cosine, so just flip it over, and then you'll have cosine. If you flip over 3.8637, 1 divided by that number, you get 0.2588. Move the cosine over with cosine inverse, so you get theta is cosine inverse of 2588, which should be 75 degrees. Now we want to be in the fourth quadrant. 75 degrees is in the first quadrant. So you take 360, subtract the 75 to get down in the fourth quadrant. So we're starting in the first, and you want to back down to the fourth to subtract from 360. So we're going to either add or subtract from 180 or 360 to get where we want to go. And that concludes section 1 of chapter 3 in Trig.